Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is June the 2nd, 2024 on the ancient moon calendar, 2025 on the ancient sun calendar, and 10,066 on the ancient Yoruba calendar. And we thank our Yoruba brothers and sisters for keeping the time. We honor their calendar because it is our calendar also, as are all original ancient calendars, Islam. All rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity and in alignment and accordance with the ancient Noahide laws as stated by this Holy Congress. This is a sovereign living ancient Article 3 Moorish American Al-Moroccan Universal Court action. We are the sovereign living justices, and I am Egosum Pauline Denise Ritchie. My free chosen sovereign appellation is Light Tajiri Bay. All are in capitis diminuto nolo in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are capit et corpus juris legalis, which is our statement that we are the lawful and legal living natural head and body for our empire. All Moors are the original indigenous, ancient, sovereign, Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites, Canaanites, Shemites, Israelites, Cushites, and Hittites. Our full faith and trust, our allegiance, our honor, our credit, and our energy are hereby vested in ourselves. For we are the people who are the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient empire state for Morocco. We're the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are ancient Washington District for Columbia. We're the Universal Moorish American Consulate and the Earth-wide Article 3 Moorish American Consular Court. Today, we are being the law by our sovereign status, which is the original indigenous, natural, divine, sovereign, ancient Article 3 living United States District for Columbia Court. And we're the sovereign fiduciaries. We're the original creditors. We are the executors. We are the executors. We are the trustors and trustees. We are the grantors and grantees and grantors. We are the divine ministers, possessors, and title trustors for all causes for action. We are peace. We are one nation, one state, one empire, and one God. We hereby recognize ourselves and accept our sovereign divine ascension. We do possess in our custody all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. We, the true living God nation, are not at war, and we exercise and demonstrate all eternal, ancient, original, divine, sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time, nunc-pro-tunc. So let's go ahead and share our screen. Islam. And really quickly, I saw this on social media on YouTube not too long ago and found it interesting that the truth is known by everyone. It says the truth is one who seeks to achieve freedom by petitioning, and they say those in power, to give it to him has already failed regardless of the response. So no matter what response anyone gets from someone where they're asking for their authority, if you have to ask, the answer is no. To beg for the blessing of authority is to accept that the choice is the master's alone to make, which means that the person is already by definition a slave. And that's why we don't ask fake courts for permission. We don't ask fake policy enforcers for permission. What we do is ask them, do they understand that they are bound by the Constitution for the United States? And again, there is no authority nor power except the Moors, period. Le haule wale kuwata illa biala. There is no strength nor power except in Allah, and we are Allah manifested in the flesh, Islam. Really quickly, very simple. This is our banking system simplified, already fully activated. Our banking simplified is as follows. Number one, choose something or from your inventory. So you're going to look at what you have first. Okay. Choose something from your inventories to trade, such as talents, skills, abilities, knowledge, information, goods, works, nutrition items, and all other, anything that you have from your inventory. Number two, once you've located that something from your inventory to trade, then what you do is you publish what you have or find someone who has inventory to trade. Okay. Agree in writing or verbally to trade, and then manifest the trade. And if there be any reconciliation that needs to be done, for example, if I gave someone a conveyance and they only had some bananas, just a few bananas, then we would reconcile the difference in those two items, and then they would say, okay, well, I'll give you these bananas and $4,000 in Moorish sovereign dolarium gold receipts that you can use at any time to get more bananas from me, or to get something from anyone else who has anything else. Okay, because we accept each other's money and each other's trust, because we're in trust with one another. So then when they give you the Moorish sovereign dolarium gold receipts, you can bring them here and get sea salt or assistance with something that you have going on, or anything that we have available, which we have many, many, many things available. They're in small quantities, but we have many things available. We even have things such as fertilizer for the garden. We have a fertilizer. All it is eggshells and bone meal that's finely ground into a fine powder and dried out. And we use that for fertilizer. You sprinkle it on your gardens, and then as you water your gardens, things grow. We're using it here, and it's working like a charm. We have many other items and things that we're putting together to do trade and exchange. So then it is imperative. It is not imperative. It is highly important for our banking system that each and every trade is recorded on your books, because it's a credit to you on your books. Whether you're giving something or receiving something, it's still a credit. So in the previous era, when corporations if they would even sell something, that sale was a credit on their books. And here's the thing, that's what they were doing back and forth in their enactments anyway, is still recording it as a credit to them. If they sold something, they no longer had that, let's say, airplane. They no longer had that airplane in their inventory, but they had that amount on the books in trade. So then they would bundle that sale up and sell the instruments that were used to create that sale. They would sell those instruments on the stock market. Okay, because it's still there was still value in their enactment. So the same thing is for us, except that we have everything that we do is a credit, regardless of whether it's a payable or a receivable. It's still a credit. So each party should record the trade on their books to receive the credit for the action, because your books is the value also. So if you have things on your books, your company could be worth 100 million very quickly because you sold 100 million or received 100 million or contracted for 100 million. So if I contract with someone and they say, okay, like we want to get 100 million in salt from you, in sea salt from you. And I say, well, it's going to take probably 5 years for me to get all that much sea salt to you. Well, that's $100 million contract. That's some value that we have on our books. Okay, so now we can literally state that our company is worth 100 million because that contract is on the books. There's an agreement on the books that both parties honor. And then in the interim, either they can give 100 million in dolarium to us and we'll begin producing and generating the salt, or if they have something that they will to trade. So we'll do 50 million in dolarium and they have bananas, so we'll do 50 million in bananas. So we'll trade 50 million in bananas and sea salt to each other back and forth, and then they will give 50 million in dolarium. So either way, we still get to increase the amount of our company. Okay, and then we just get to work doing it. We get to work doing it. Morris, you must put a price on the things that you do. See, we were completely against putting a price on anything when we were talking about fiat. We were completely against it. Completely against it for the right reason. For the right reason. Because that stuff, it corrupted the right things between the Moors. Okay? Because that was not our creation. We're creating things, but we don't want to use a foreign mechanism or introduce a foreign mechanism into our creations. So that is how our trade happens. So we've done those trades before. Empress Aisha, who is a part of our Congress, she sent some dolarium and I sent her some sea salt. And you know, she was very generous. She gave us way more than what the salt was worth in dolarium. However, she felt that that's what she willed to give from her trust. So we took that and put it on our books, and our company, just from that one exchange alone, the value of our company tripled. And then we've received donations that we put into our work that we're doing. So we're right now worth trillions and trillions and trillions and trillions and billions and trillions. We are extremely, and when I say extremely, I mean extremely, extremely, extremely wealthy. Extremely wealthy. We have way more money. And again, like the video that we showed you before the recording started, because we some things we keep among us. Money is everywhere. We have all the money. We have money everywhere. And now we're just putting items, production, profitability, proper recording and things with our money, just to continue to give our money more value. Way more value, as if that's even possible. The fact that it comes from us gives it all the value. Okay, so we will that everyone find something that you can do where you can attach that money to what you do. So every word that comes out of your mouth there should be some production coming with it. Okay, so again, we have all the money. There's no lack in our nation because we have all the skills, talents, abilities, information, knowledge to assist one another and to trade back and forth. There's no lack at all. There are Moors who have oranges and bananas and potatoes and onions and whatever else, strawberries and things of that nature. Moors have that. So we can trade back and forth even right now, sea salt for that. And then we'll reconcile on our books and use Delarium as the reconciliation mechanism. Unless you will to use silver and gold coin. Okay. So that's our banking. It's fully operational and fully active right now. Our systems are vibrant, and we have the fastest growing gross domestic product at Earth ever. The fastest growing wealth nation at Earth is us. The fastest growing wealth nation, because we have the principles locked in. We've done all of the homework and put things on the record to activate so that the system recognizes what we're doing. And let me tell you, Morris, I received, and I can't say I received it, the person received some mailing this week that that proved that everything that we're doing is the system is saying, yep, that's it. And we could show you some of the things that came in. We won't show them all, but when the time is right, because you all are getting, I know you're getting the same things. What we were seeing previously, before, like in 2017 and 2018, just one moment, just a moment. 2017 and 2018, around those time periods, the things that came to the person, they were speaking to dead corpses, but we would see some of those mailings and things that were coming through, and it was just there was an attempt to try and have us to claim the corpse, and there was a bunch of debt associated with that. All of that has changed as well. All of that has changed, I'm telling you. So Morris, make sure that you rebut everything. When you see things coming through and they're trying to talk to a corpse and trying to get you to accept being a corpse, rebut it properly using your proper person. Rebut it. And it doesn't matter what comes after that, just keep rebutting. Keep rebutting. You don't have to even change up your rebuttal, because rebuttal starts at personam jurisdiction. The person. Who's the person? We're seeing now that the system is saying what it's supposed to say. I'll give you, and again, even with these types of things, just one moment, let me pull up something that came through, just a moment. And this will just be a brief example of something that came through. And again, we're still not accepting. We don't accept dead corpses and things of that nature. For our person, we govern our person. We create the things that have to do with our person. But let me see. Let me find that piece of documentation that came through. I think it came through here. Yeah. Because, again, there's no sweet talking our person. There's no sweet talking our person. No one's going to say, oh, you can have $5,000 of this, that, or a third. There's no sweet talking our person. Just a moment. Let me see if I can find that document. Just a moment. And more, we all have to get to that point also where we don't allow, no matter what they say, we still don't accept that person. So this is just one example of something that came through recently, as you can see. Hopefully you all can see this on the, and of course we're restating everything. This came through, and we redacted all of the colorability and things of that nature. We redacted that because we didn't submit any documents of any kind. But we looked at what was being stated. It says here, and this is just, it says, we have also identified your recently created Treasury Direct account. That was actually the only little truth, semi-truth in there, in terms of they don't have the authority to identify my Treasury Direct account. I created it. No one else does that. I do that. Okay? And so this is again, the system is recognizing, but that colorability, we don't accept their person. This right here, Pauline Ritchie, 911 SW 14th Place, Federal Way, WAS, that's not a state. That's not a place. But what they're doing is letting us, this is a hint from the system. And we showed you all how to create your sovereign original indigenous Treasury Direct account. We showed you how to create that in one of our previous videos. Some things that we did because we're our own bank, period. We're our own bank. There is no other. No one else has the authority or anything to create anything or identify anything that has to do with us. We do all of that. So that's just one of the things. There was something else, some other things that came through that we restated and all of that, and rebutted and all of that. Because, again, we still don't have to accept anyone else's person at all, and it's best that we don't. So are there any questions about the simplicity of our banking and our gold receipt banking? Any questions, comments, and here, let us put the meeting in mute. Any questions, comments, wisdom?
Islam,
Empress.
Yeah, I was just looking at what you posted from the one of the things that was tailored to you. It says the document you recently submitted to our office are not valid obligations of the United States. And then it says after the redactation, we also identified your recent created
yes
Treasury Direct account. So that's like, I don't know what else it says in between because it's redacted, but come on now. Yes, we know that it's not obligations of the United States corporate fiction. Thank you very much. And
they
yes,
are absolutely right about that. That is so true. But see, some people, Empress, I'm grateful that you pointed that out, because some people will be fooled by that into thinking that, they're not going to pay our bills. We take care of everything that has to do with us. We don't have any debt, so of course they're not obligated.
Yeah. And then it says we've also identified your recent created Treasury Direct account. Well, thank you, not thank you. We did it anyway, so the system recognized it. All that matters.
That's all that's saying right there is that the system is doing what the system is supposed to do. But it's our system, because see, they can't identify anything that has to do with us. It's our system.
The system didn't give you a Land Rover.
Oh, they don't like that. We still don't acknowledge. We still don't acknowledge a fake system, a dead system.
Right. And just as Nate and I, we was just
Where's
speaking
all the
about
shit you commanded, Paul?
the Treasury Direct accounts and how once we get our ledgers going, the Treasury Direct account is the account that we will transact with, because it is a bank account, because we're the Treasury and it's direct to us.
Let's go. Let's do it. That's all I'm saying is we have everything that is necessary for us to
Where's that domicile you command?
get everything going, to do all that we will to do. We're not short of resources. We're not short of, we have more resources than ever. We're not short of money. We have all the money we could ever spend. But now it's time to produce among each other. So what we're going to continue to engage or encourage and engage you with is to pick up the pace, even if you just do one exchange per week with someone else. Just get it started. See, the system is now, if I showed you some of the other things that came through, the system is now saying that the things that we even put forth for our credit report, because we reported on our own credit, that we're worth hundreds of millions per lien and all of that, and we did put all of that on the record. The system is now saying, yes, that's correct. And not only that, but it's also saying that that previous dead system does not even have a credit report for us, because they can't. It's dead. It was an enactment. It's not real. And so therefore the system accepts what we sent to our system, because it's a court. So again, we're not short of money. We're not short of anything. It's time to continue producing and doing the exchanges among each other. Now, let me say this about, let's say, for example, the place down the street, the grocery store, this place, that place, wherever. All we have to do, Morris, is continue, notify, due process, and then test the system. Notify, due process, and test it again. Notify, due process, and test it again.
And then you'll be rejected and go to jail again.
Just keep going. That's what they don't want you to know, is that the system must do what we tell it to do. It's already doing it.
Bullshit.
It's already doing it. And that's why the haters hate. It's already doing it. Now, Moors who you've been rebutting things and becoming more competent with each rebuttal, I might add. You're going to start seeing things that you rebutted 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 years ago come through, and the system is going to be wiped clean. It's going to be wiped clean and fresh and new. And it's going to be saying what you said it should say. I'm watching it happen. I'm watching it happen. That even Pauline Ritchie in all capital letters in black ink that we created, that Pauline is free. That's a person that I own and I govern. I'm the one that tells the system what happens with that person. No one else. I do that. And you all do too. With your person. You tell in fact, you tell all persons what to do. All persons, that's the all caps. Those persons have to do what we state, because it's our system. Don't listen, make no mistake about it. What we state is the law, period. We're watching it. We're watching it. We're watching it manifest. Yes, the manifestation was not 24 hours later in some cases. It had already happened. It was just a matter of it manifesting systemically as well as otherwise. So we could show you 3 or 4 other things that came through just this week like that. And again, we don't claim anyone else's person. We claim our own person. So this is our system. And again, the more we use our own system and then test the system at your territory, make sure that you seat whatever it is, that grocery store, make sure that grocery store is on the land. You do that with lien, levy, and bond process. And we're going to show you a little bit more about that levy process in just a moment and the success thereof. So here are some of our opportunities. All of our industries and sectors are overflowing with holdings, but no takers. And I can't say but no takers because it already all belongs to us. It's just a matter of us properly stating it. We have the resources and money to vest. So I can't say no takers because that's not true. Let me remove that. All of our industries and sectors are overflowing with holdings. We have the resources and money to vest. So how do we bring those two together, our money and our holdings? Because they have to come together and be properly recorded. Our money and our holdings. There is nothing out there that we cannot have. Nothing out there that we cannot have. Because it's not really out there, it's on our land. So this is the way that we're manifesting and moving forward. Get all businesses and entrepreneurs to accept an exchange. And here's the thing, we're not really even, it's not a matter of getting them to do it. It's a matter of us just stating that this is what's happening here at this business, because there is no business that we are not the head of. I don't care if it's a little mom and pop place right down the road or wherever it is. Those places must use proper money on the land. That's number one. And number two, those places automatically, we are the head of those places. They pay taxes to us. So does the United States use more sovereign dolarium gold receipts, both in payables and receivables? The answer is yes, because we are the living states united. So start looking for things to trade and begin negotiating for them. Be good, honorable, responsible owners. There are 3 levels to this, Moors. 3 levels to this, and really more than 3 levels, but 3 levels for the sake of what we're stating now. The highest level is the ownership, or in the previous era they called it the steward level, where you steward banking or you steward education, or in the previous era they called it education and all of that, or whatever the case may be. Stewardship starts with just one exchange on the public record. How did you handle that exchange? When we first woke up and we started looking around to see, okay, now that we know who we are, how do we fix, some of the issues and the problems, that are happening on our land? How do we fix some of that stuff? We noticed on social media that previously for example, there were Moors who were, and Moors have always done commerce. That's first and foremost. We're the titans of commerce. Commerce is in our blood. Mercantilism is in our blood. Trade, exchange is in our blood. So we would see Moors on social media, for example, creating something like they would use their hands to create fezzes and turbans and just beautiful works of their hands. But then they would be selling it for fiat. And whenever a Moor, and I've seen this once or twice, where another Moor would give them fiat for whatever it is they were selling, and something would always go wrong. Something would always go wrong in those as I was watching those things happen. To where by the time the feds got to the Moor, it was crunched up in the mail and they wanted their money back and all of that. And they would be going back and forth on the public record like that, back and forth about this fiat transaction, not knowing that it was the use of fiat that corrupted the thing in the first place. They would be arguing back and forth. They would be arguing back and forth on the public record over someone trying to get some fiat back. Okay. So it's, you know, and we would try to be the peacemaker sometimes in those situations when we were on Facebook and things like that. We would try to be the peacemaker and tell them, you know, hey, you know, y'all don't need to be going back and forth about something that ain't even yours. Fiat is not yours. But that's lower energy. That's why this exchange went to the lower energies between the two of you, and now you've put your nobility on the back burner, and you're looking like a slave because things didn't go right and you couldn't work it out. So you on Facebook going back and forth at each other, calling each other all types of names and things, quote unquote. So, you know, as we were looking around, we thought, okay, had that been substance for substance, they would then they would have been able to work it out. I know that. Had the Moor who thought they were just going to give them some fiat, had he actually withheld that fiat and produced something himself and did an even exchange, then they could have worked out whatever the difference was. Let's say they exchanged it for that more new court actions and knew how to use their court abilities and their judicial abilities and their judicial erudition and their authority and power thereof. They could do that, and normally you don't. Judges are not to exchange things like that if the person is coming to their court. However, as judicial peers, we can do that because we're judicial peers, and then the Moor who receives the assistance judicially, they would demonstrate for themselves whatever it is that was, whatever assistance they were given. They must demonstrate it themselves. So then it becomes their court. So them giving us something, bananas or you know, they make beautiful garments or something, them giving us beautiful garments to assist them in doing their own court action, there's no conflict of interest there. There's no breach of trust there. Because they're the judge just like we are. So, and everything that they're doing is going to be handled by them in their courts anyway. So, you know, there was a thin line in what looked like, you know, how is a judge accepting gifts and things like that? No, because whoever we assist, they actually must, for themselves, you know, demonstrate what they know for themselves, because we're all judges. We're all judges. Period. Are there any questions, comments, wisdom regarding the things that we've stated thus far? Islam. So now with regard to our trade, who are our competitors? None. We really don't have any competition. We don't have any competition because who else is using gold and silver and Moorish sovereign dollarium? So then where is the opportunity? The opportunity is that the poor conditions in the debt system enactment from the previous era is doing all the hard work of changing the minds for us. All we have to do is keep doing what we're doing. The poor conditions and those that, were looking in the funny mirror thinking it was real are seeing their conditions deteriorate. And so it won't be, all we have to do is keep doing what we're doing, and they'll see what we're doing, and they will come right on in with the flow. Okay? And what we're doing is proof of allegiance. How important is proof of allegiance? Proof of allegiance relieves anyone of any claims by any debtors and foreigners trying to say that you owe them something. That's how important proof of allegiance is. You can literally use the fact that you're using Moorish sovereign dollarium and a living system as proof that you don't owe anyone anything. But here's the thing, you must demonstrate by way of the system that you don't owe them, because they're not going to hear you otherwise. So when you see things come through for a person, like what we just showed you, from quote-unquote retail treasury securities and things of that nature, which is not real, because we don't have a tail. We're the head and the body. That's how you prove. And when you start proving it, you'll start seeing things like that. All we're doing is speaking to the system. We're not mad at people. We're speaking to the system and saying, system, you obey. System, you must do as commanded. It won't be, and here's the thing, your brothers and sisters and those of your kin who think that you're crazy and all of that, don't even worry about them. That system or that previous enactment, it's going to run them all out of there in just a minute. And again, the more we do what we're doing, they'll come. You don't have to convince them. You don't have to convince them. You just live it. When you live it and you prove that you prosper by what we're doing, because we're going to prosper, we're prospering already. The most important prosperity for us is our freedom. We don't have to worry about the door being kicked in because we're free. We've demonstrated our freedom. We've demonstrated our freedom. That's the most profitable and precious and prosperous. That's to us, if the ancestors had stopped right there, that would have been enough for us. But they said, no, we're not stopping there. We want you, we will that you prosper and be in health far above anything that you could even think or even ask. All they will is that we be their arms, their hands, their mouths, be the ancestors' eyes, be their feet, be where their, be their heads, be the body. That's all they ask. And prosperity is automatic. It's automatic. It's automatic. And some may not believe that, but you will. You will. So here is another way of expressing our trust. So when you're in trust with someone who has a gift, for example, we're all in trust with one another. We know that. And our subjects are in trust as well. When you're in trust with someone who has a gift, a skill, ability, a talent, a product, an item, let's add that. Or knowledge or something. This is how you pay them properly. So, for example, if what they have, let's say I gave you a $30,000 worth of sea salt. So what you do is, or I was going to pay you $30,000 for whatever it is. You would add 30. We would agree between us that you're going to add 30,000 to your company trust ledger, and I'm going to remove 30,000 from mine. My company just paid you 30,000, so you add that to your ledger. Then you have proof that that exists. You have proof that it exists on your company records, which are court records. That's why the Constitution says that the judges in every state are to honor the court actions, and I'm paraphrasing, but that's really what it meant, because it's talking about judges honoring the records and the rulings of every other state. That's why we do everything by court action. Then we use the public post office to do the shipping back and forth. The value is gained when you use that 30,000 to make more money, because it's a credit to you already as it is. But you can then turn around and take that 30,000 that you put onto your company trust ledger in my name, in the name that I govern. You put that on there, and it was received from my person. Then you can turn around and say, okay, I've got 30,000 here to work with. What else do we have here? What else can we do? Who else can I exchange with and trade with? Okay, and that 30,000 is not taxed. Again, AA 222141. Anything that we do, there's no tax associated with it. Anything that we do, there's no tax. It is not taxed. And that's the difference between real money and U.S. fiat debt money. Debt. Okay, it's not money. The difference is anything that was denominated and connotated in U.S. fiat was a tax. From even if it was just $1, it was a tax, because that entity does not create anything. So we would encourage everyone to first create a lien, do the lien, levy, and bond process, and then get your company documents together. That means just properly notifying everyone that, yes, this is a living company, and then put the $100 million in whatever you receive from wherever. If you've received donations from each other for that, then put that on there for a good or service or trade, okay? And then begin doing business with each other. And let me just say this about that. The way that we do business and the way that we do commerce and mercantilism, the way that we do it is why empires grew so large and so quickly, particularly where you had a couple, let's say a matriarch and a patriarch. You had the two of them together. Empires came together, and still do, when we operate in that manner, when we're together like that, because he can still put money on my books and I can put money on his books, and we can do exchanges back and forth and become extremely wealthy just between the two of our empires. Everybody has to agree to bring something substantive to the table. And that's where people get that, thing about, well, what do you come to the table with? If they don't come to the table with anything, you should not be with them. That's true. They first have to come to the table with proper identification. In other words, are you of the bloodline and birthright? Because if not, what are you doing at the table? What are you doing at the table? You should not be at the table, not the contracting table. You can be at the affidavit table, but not the contracting table. And that's only when we're giving instructions, giving commands. But again, even the subjects use the system to access things, so they're not going to be without. It's going to be according to chapter 29 of the Circle 7, magistrate and subject. So let's speak briefly, now that we know how to use our money system. This is our question to you. What are the top 3 expectations that you have for your life for the next 365 days? Think about that. What is it that you will to manifest for the next 365 days? What will you to manifest? And how are you going to go about doing that? How are you going to go about doing that? How? How? We see some other things in the system that was being used previously in the enactment over at the other Africa, the other one, where those, and this is something we can think about because this is just more instant wealth for us. Those who were claiming a black status over there in the other Africa's enactment, this is how the subjects were getting rid of the debt. This is how they were getting rid of the debt over there. What they would do, because they see what's coming, so they've been doing this en masse, just massively. They would find someone who's from that territory, and they would say, okay, we have this company, let's say Microsoft. We have this company. We want to give you, because of the law that was made that says that because you're from here, you're supposed to have a major stake in the company. Because that was the law over there. They made that the law even in the enactment over there. They said that any companies have to have one of them as the head because they knew what was coming. So they said, we want to give you 51% of Microsoft. And they would just pick someone who probably was in the industry and knew the business and was making their way up the ladder and ambitious. They would say, we want to give you 51% of the company. And so what we're going to do is we're going to sign you on to 51% of the company, and you can go and get whatever you will to have in the name of the company. So then immediately they would go and get them a Range Rover and a big domicile and all of this stuff in the company name, not realizing that all that was being done was all the debt was being shifted over to them because they're from, and then because those subjects over there know what's happening. Those who took that bag are going to have to demonstrate their way out of all of that debt. They're going to have to demonstrate their way out. It was high living for a moment there. High living for just a moment. And then, all that debt was attached to them, and then they're going to have to demonstrate their way out. It's a little easier, and I can't say a little easier because they still have to know that the fiat system is a dead system. But over at the other Africa, there's some things that they knew about who they were and about their attachment to the land. There are some who really knew that information and just did not tell others about it. There are some who really knew. There are some who knew that information over there and came over here and seemed like they just blew up over here, just came over here and dominated, not knowing that they actually still have to demonstrate their way out of that debt and trust and know that debt is a boa constrictor that is constricting for them, on them. And they're going to have to declare who they really are. We know some of them. Because I just, I met quite a few quote unquote Africans who came here and they just automatically just did well here, just did well. And we're not mad at that. We love them. They are going to have to demonstrate their way out of all that debt though. And see, the stopping of the movement in terms of passports and things like that, that is why that particular enactment was put in place, was to stop them from running back to Africa and leaving all that debt unattended. That's what that was for. And that's why whoever controls, and we know it's us, whoever controls the identity of the people who come here and who leave here, whoever controls the identity, whoever can issue them passports and documents, are the ones who determine who's paying what, who's having what, and who's doing what. And that was always our responsibility. Always our responsibility. Always. And I mean every one of us should be issuing ID to others. Speaking of which, Empress Niraj and Justice Leon sent me an email, and I hadn't had an opportunity to respond back because I willed to respond on the record that I affirm your identifications that you're doing. We affirm them. And any time that you see where in your spirit the ancestors are saying, make this little change or do this or do that, just you have the freedom to do it. So I want to make sure that they hear me. Empress Niraj and Justice Leon, are you present?
Islam, gratitude, Empress.
Islam. I did see it. I read through it. It's beautiful, beautiful work, beautiful work. I don't have a single complaint not a complaint, adjustment. Just let the Spirit continue to lead you in what you're doing. Perfect. It's perfection.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yeah, Islam. And I will to put that on the record as well. And just let the Spirit continue to lead you, because I can look at what you've done and see that the Spirit was leading you throughout the whole thing, throughout all of the creation of that, of each document that you created. Beautiful identifications and passport and all of that. Beautiful. Islam. Yes, I can open our inboxing about opening the meeting. With that being stated, is there anyone who wills to give just a brief statement about what at least one expectation that you have that you will to manifest in the next 365 days for you and for your life?
Grand Rise.
Great rising, Empress.
Empress Light. Pleasure to meet you. Sure, if I may, and to the body as well. Grand Rise to you all, and the head. We all are heads and bodies.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Yes, there's so much, to be honest. But one thing is to be enlightened more as far as my business. I'm getting it off the ground, and my hesitation is making sure that everything is properly placed.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my hindrance, if I can say.
Mm-hmm.
Is I would like to make sure that all points are covered.
Yeah.
So, but I will manifest. The business, actually, it is manifested already.
Mm-hmm.
It's just for the record.
Yes,
and
indeed.
putting it out publicly for the record, yes, that my rights. I had to put me a few notes down. I'm not going to take too much time, you all, but I do appreciate this opportunity. Greatly do appreciate this. But to trademark my brand and make sure it's in the correct tax status, and to legally proceed, we are already lawfully, but to legally proceed with commerce here on our land. But thank you again for the opportunity. But it's manifested, but just, for the record, this is on public record now.
It is. It is. Oh, Empress, thank you so much for that. If we may offer a brief word in affirmation of what you're doing, keep it simple and keep moving. Keep it simple and keep moving. It's not super complicated because your word is the law. So do what you know to do and then keep moving. Because you can clean it up as you go. That is how we've accomplished everything that we've accomplished. Our courts, our money, and everything is our Grand Sheikh Taj Tariq Bey, who is our Consular General. He stated that he said, just get it started and you can clean it up as you go. And so we did what we knew to do, and no matter what, we keep going. Take a break sometimes to just get quiet and hear from our spirit, and then keep going. And ensure that it's not an overnight process, because it lasts forever. We are eternal. What we're doing now is for generations to come. A good man or woman plans for their children's children and their children, sets up wealth for their children's children and children's children. Islam. We affirm your business, Empress, and we're ready to support. We're ready to support Islam.
Much appreciated. Thank you so much.
Indeed. Islam. So Are there any other statements or
Yeah, where's that post office window you were supposed to?
expectations for the next 365 days for your life?
Pauline is a skank and a con.
We don't expect anyone else's person. Islam, Empress.
Hey, Phoenix, where's them conveyances?
Islam. Was someone saying? Islam, no dealer.
365 days that we have a holy temple here in Moab territory, a spiritual temple, shall I say. Just learning and getting all the people together, getting us on the right page and getting our spirits at peace.
Yes. If we may offer an affirmation as well, you know this already, Empress. I'm just stating this for the new Moors who may be listening. You're already the temple. So the temple has already manifested. And now go about doing temple things and the structure will manifest. We already know that. Go about, in other words, and this is for everyone, don't wait until things are supposedly perfect and conditions are supposedly perfect and you have this big old building. No, you want to work your way into the building. That's how buildings manifest. You work your way to it. Go ahead and be and do and manifest. The buildings will come when you have presented the universe with the offering that says we need a building. Then the buildings will come. That's how buildings manifest. They're not just given randomly. They manifest based on the work that you're doing. And that's for everyone, myself included. And to us, that's appropriate. That is appropriate. Islam. And for those who are really quiet, I'm in the spirit realm. I'm hoping that you're thinking about your at least one expectation that you have, and that you solidified that expectation in your spirit, and that you're working towards that expectation, manifesting that expectation. Islam, Empress.
Yes, Angelic Yvette Day at Vanuatu Territory. For the record, Mother Chief Justice. My expectations, because I have high expectations. So expectations that we have here is to continue manifesting our government, which is our national government, nation state, to manifest our conveyances, our domiciles, for the collective, the people, the wealth, the resources, our money, our laws that we stated, all manifested, and to see peace on the land.
Islam. And we affirm your statements as well, Empress, and if we may offer an affirmation with that, all we're doing is proving to the universe that conveyances are necessary. What are we doing that proves that conveyances are necessary and that buildings and structures are necessary? And so all we're doing is putting that forth and continuing to do that. Is just letting the universe know that it's necessary, it's time. It's time. Islam, we affirm. Anyone else? Islam.
Islam,
Islam, Empress.
I'm so excited, and I must apologize. I'm just so excited. Um, I'm new. This is my first live. I'm just so excited.
Yes, Empress. We welcome you. Let me just say that. We're so glad you're here. We can feel your energy.
Thank you. I I first want to tell you how I ran across you. Okay. So I ran across you yesterday, and I was looking for, or shall I say, searching for a live to kind of listen to and kind of get some direction and what I need to focus on and learn, etc. So I was doing that, and I represent the Shalagi Cherokee Nation.
Beautiful. We so welcome and honor the Shalagi Cherokee Nation. We honor you.
Yes, so I'm very new at all of this. I don't know a lot. I'm learning. But like I said, so I was searching for that yesterday, and what popped up as I was looking for the Empress, someone had a negative or derogatory video out there on her, and I didn't click on it, and I scrolled a little further, and I found you. And so instead of me clicking on that, I clicked on yours, and I started listening, and I got excited about all the things that I was hearing, and I started looking for the 40 documents that you were talking about, and I started listening again today. There were two. It was something about the money video that you recorded, and so I'm trying to do two at the same time. And I said, I don't know which one to listen to first. I'm just going to click on this one. And because, like I said, I was looking for the 40 documents. So I found the 40 documents.
Beautiful.
And then I said, oh, what's today? Oh, they're coming on today. I got to attend. So here I am. And I have a question. I have a lot of questions, but I'm just going to kind of keep it minimal to the topic at hand. And as you are speaking about the businesses, though, now, and I have a few ideas, and I know I got to get started because I attempted a business right before, the quote unquote COVID thing happened. And so I wasn't able to actually pursue that because of that, because I would actually have to go into people's homes to provide that service. So I had to put that on hold. So I know that I have a lot of things that I do need to accomplish, and those I like to do this year. But I have a question. My question is, on the other side, it was required to have a business license.
Yes.
Is that a requirement here now that we're in control or charge, or however you want to say it?
We are in charge. We are in control, and that means you too. You will create your own business license because there is, and when you look at those 40 documents, you'll see where you have the authority to do that.
Okay.
We can't not do that because our system says commercially those things are necessary, so that but we create them. Ours look a lot like the business licenses that from the previous era, but because we have our own money system, we get our business licenses from each other. We do that. You are a judge, you are a justice. Everyone who's of the bloodline and birthright is, and so because we're the government, also because we're self-governing,
right?
And so we honor the system by creating those types of documents. We don't get them from someone else. We create them ourselves.
Okay.
And then we publish it. And when you publish it and put it on a public record, the system will pick up on this is where this is and these things are done. Because all we're doing really is proving that we're responsible heirs. That's all of this is all about, is being responsible heirs, being able to properly, and I'll use the word steward or govern the resources by the processes. The processes are used to ensure that we're not arguing back and forth about who has what and who does what, because we have documentation on the record that shows each and every part of what we're doing. And that looks a lot like the previous system, except we have the freedom to create everything ourselves.
Wonderful. I love that idea.
Yes. That's what self-governing really is just, yes, we honor our system. We don't have to get approval from someone else. We have our own system. Our system looks exactly like, almost, except we're the head and we're the body of our system.
Okay.
That's how you responsibly govern and make sure that everything is responsibly done.
So now, what do you mean by publish? How would we go about publishing it?
So the way that we publish, the most important way for publication, which also covers due process, is we notify the subjects in the office of, say, the county or the city or the state. We notify them that this is what has been done within our government. And they're not separate from us, they're subject to us.
Okay.
And they're aware of that already.
Another question.
Yes.
So from the other system, they give you a business tax ID number. Do we use that same number?
You restate that same number. So the number, the sequence of numbers will be the same, but when you restate that number, all you're doing is saying these are the numbers, but they're under our authority and our government. So that's called restating that number. So and normally the way that we do that, just to ensure that there's no violation or confusion, we place a lien on their ability to use that number.
Okay.
We just place a lien on it, and the lien process is one part of the 40 documents. So you'll see a lien in there. You just use that as your template and place a lien on their ability to use that number, so that as you proceed, there's no confusion in whether that's a debtor number or a creditor number. It's the same numbers, but what is the category? It's like having two people named Jane Smith, but one of them is a debtor and one is a creditor, or one of them is dead and the other one is alive. We make sure that we state that this is a living number, not a dead one.
Okay.
And we use the system to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now all these other questions that I have, is there a way for me to get in contact with you to have a deeper discussion?
Sure.
Okay.
This is what we suggest. Because we know this to be truth. Your spirit is calling for truth.
Yes.
Okay. So we suggest that. Now we're happy to meet with you. However, we suggest that you go back and just listen to those two videos that you have queued up. Okay. Listen to them, because the majority of your questions are going to be answered in there. and we're happy to meet with you. And we normally do that after our Congress. We meet with or we set it up during Congress time to meet, maybe at a different time or day. But I would ask that you watch those two videos first, and then we'll meet. Let's do that.
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome, Empress. And we thank you for your energy.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom? Any other questions, comments, wisdom? Islam.
Yes.
Islam, Empress.
I did do the tracking for our package that we sent out to you. It did make it to your territory, your post office.
Beautiful.
That is a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
Should be doing it momentarily. It's working. We're working it. Demonstrate it.
All it took, Empress, was for you to speak it onto the public record that that's supposed to go here, and it moved. It moved on your word, not even mine, yours.
It's mine.
We just love how this works. We love how this works. Our ancestors put this program together and this process together. All we got to do is speak it, and that system will do what it's supposed to do. You spoke that just by saying, has it gotten there yet? Has it gotten there yet? The system said, oh, we better get moving. We better get moving. Yeah.
Okay, Empress.
Islam, Empress.
I have a question. I studied it, but I really kind of like don't have my finger down on this. The names, the different impropana, improprio persona.
Sui juris.
Right. Of where the capital.
Okay, so let me put it on the screen for you, Empress, and then we'll take a look at it really quickly, because that's important. That's the court action language.
Right.
Let's make this a little bit bigger so that we can see. So what we state, this is what we state. We state who we are. We are the divine, sovereign, living justices, and then you state your appellation. And here's what you're asking about. All are in capitis diminutio nolo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. And Empress, I'll copy this and put it in the chat really quickly so you can copy and paste it.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure you probably have it, but we'll put it there anyway, just for those who may want to have it as well. Okay. That is, so we would ask that each one who wills to know what this means, Google those terms. Okay. In propria persona sui juris. First of all, in capitis diminutio nolo means in the previous era, the all caps name, the all capitalized name that they were using in creating those dead entities, they were using capitalism to move things, to get people to do things and to arrest and all of that. Mm-hmm. Whereas, and we did not know that in our sleep, that they were using capitalism to do that. So what we did to properly rebut that is we state that our appellation is in capitis diminutio nolo, which means it is not in all capital letters, it's in no capital letters. So capitis diminutio means lowercase or lower. You can see the word dim there. That means lower. Okay. Nolo means no. Okay. So it means that we are at our sovereign status and capacity. All of the the most ancient documents are written in all lowercase. There were no capital letters unless you gave someone capital punishment. That's where the term capital punishment came from. So now we don't use capital letters for capital punishment. We use them as a reward for ourselves, to reward our estates, if we choose to use them. We don't have to. Okay. We can still get our estate otherwise. So that's what in capitis diminutio nolo means. We say in red ink because red symbolizes the land. You know, the red clay dirt and the red sea and the red river, the red rocks, the red people, all of that. Brown and red were very similar. It's like copper. Copper in its different stages and phases can either be red or sometimes it'll go to brown. And so we will call the copper people, the copper-skinned people, not copper-colored, copper-skinned people, in red ink. So then we used to write with copper, and it would be red when we wrote it, and then as it dried, it would turn brown. And so in red ink means that this is a land document. It's also a blood document. So only those who have the bloodline and birthright, or who are willingly subject to the bloodline and birthright, can read these documents and have anything to do with the documents.
Okay.
Okay. Impropria persona, that's the proper person sui juris, meaning under our own sovereign authority. Improprio solo means that we are sovereign whether we are together or not.
Okay.
And then improprio heredes, and here we can, that is a term that Empress Amara Amor Bay. Empress Amara Amor Bay, I believe that is her appellation. She gave us that some years back, and we honor her. She was, I believe, at Canaan Land as well. Yes, she was at Canaan Land. She is at Canaan Land as well. Heredes in Latin, it's both a Latin and a Spanish term.
Okay.
And it means, let's just see. Heredes. Just one moment, because we had it up here. Latin is simple. Heredes. And I think we were, it means heir. There it is on heir or heiress.
Okay.
Okay. So we state that in Latin because it means what we intend for it to mean. And so that's why we use those terms, Empress.
All right.
Yes,
It's just when you're going through the documents, and I got a little bit confused there when I was going through.
Empress, I'm grateful that you're going through them, because all it's doing is rehearsing back to you your sovereign authority. That's what the 40 documents do. They just rehearse back to you. They sing back to you your authority.
Right.
Islam.
So, because you really have to be careful so that you don't mess anything up.
Empress, I would say let the Spirit lead you, and you will never make a mistake. You're perfect already. You can't make a mistake when you're demonstrating your status. You cannot make a mistake when you're demonstrating. It's only when we were trying to be dead citizens that we made that's not the right way. Okay. But anytime you're demonstrating your status, don't even worry about making a mistake. Just demonstrate. That's it. Okay. And the ancestors will honor our energy and cause the system to do what it's supposed to do. And then when the subjects who are in the offices of look at the papers that come off the system's printers, they can't argue with you. They can't argue. Because all they were doing was looking at what the paper that come off the system. If the paper issued a warrant, quote unquote, then all they said was, oh, well, here, you all have to go and enforce this warrant. But somebody had to put something in there. Mm-hmm. And since we're the judges and the justices, we are the ones now who put everything in the system. It's our system. We created it. And really, it's been in since time immemorial, and all we did was hook our system up to the ancient system, which is the land.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can't make any mistakes, Empress. Just do it. Like Nike, just do it. Islam. That's what we did, that's what we did. We just did, and the ancestors honored.
Islam, Empress.
Islam nobility.
This is Justice Travis Bay, Michigan Territory.
Islam, Justice Travis. How are you?
Peaceful.
Islam.
Since we talk about trade, I know. I think we went over something a while ago dealing with forex trading, dealing with currencies. Okay.
Yes.
Now, since we're at the stage we're at now, how do our delarium play in that, or it doesn't, when it comes to exchanging currencies on an international level?
I'm so glad you asked. I'm so glad you asked. So let's take Justice Travis. We'll use you as an example of how that works. You have delarium, and you're out doing business, and you come across someone who they will to do business with you, but all they have is fiat. So here's what you say to them. What is your status? What is your name and what is your status? And if they're of the bloodline and birthright, then whatever it is that you have, that they will to have, you would then ask them, do you have a skill or do you have something of your own that you will to trade for what we have here? And they'll name a few things. And in most cases, most of them will say something like, well, I used to run a automotive business. I don't know what, I don't run it anymore, but I used to do that. It's just the taxes, they taxed me out of business. Okay, then they have a skill set. So how can we utilize that skill set? So then you make an exchange that way. Now, if there is a deficit, not a deficit, if there is a reconciliation that needs to be done and they don't have anything to give, let's say if they were from Africa, then they would connect with their nation. In other words, they're creating their nation, really. They would connect with their nation, and whatever money their nation uses that's not fiat, in other words, they have to create it. Then you can exchange that way. So we're actually looking at that piece because there's someone at our territory here from Ghana, and he wills to do business with us. So they have not established themselves outside of the corporate. So he's going to have to declare who he is, declare his Ghanaian nationality. He is literally going to have to create his own money. He's going to have to create his own money. And then when you and he, or me and he, or you and whoever you're trading with, because they got to take the same steps we took. They have to. Even though they're here, they have to declare their nationality from where they're from. They have to create the documents. They have to create the money and all of that, and trust they know how to do that. And then we pair our delarium with their money. But everybody else that's from Ghana is going to have to use the money that he created because he created it. And they will do that. They unify easily. They unify very well because they know they were even unified during the previous era's enactment. They stayed unified. They came here and said, we got to keep in touch with each other and all of that. They'll do it too. They'll do it too, where they have to agree to use the same money like we did. And then we pair our money with their money, and then we start trading back and forth. Whatever they have, we accept their money, and they accept our delarium and gold and silver and our skills, abilities, and things. Islam.
Now, if he does that or they do that, when they do that? Correct. Thank you. Do we consider that as a foreign consulate on our land? Like you say, if you were to go somewhere like Indianapolis, Indiana, they got a Mexican consulate downtown that they go to for resources and things like that.
They would the same things we did, they will do. Okay. So they would be considered the Ghanaian consulate, but they would work with us because this is our land. They would work with us so that things get taken care of back and forth. They would come to our courts. And then if there's a Ghanaian who's, let's say they're And we know they're going to do what they're supposed to do because they know what this is. I mean, just the conversations that I've had with our brother down the way, they already know what time it is. They knew who we were before we did. So they're going to do the right things, and then we just stay connected with one another, do our exchanges back and forth with no third-party interloper. They have access to things here just like we do, from the previous era, and their things have to be restated as well. And we must affirm them and affirm their money and affirm that we take their money. Okay? And so even as we're doing that, as that continues to manifest, we're going to be bringing that before the Congress, before you all, so that you can see what the agreement is, and so we can all agree that, okay, from this point forward, our Dolarium and their Ghanaian, whatever they choose, we're going to pair them one-to-one, as long as they're creating it and it's not coming from some place that they don't know where it's coming from. It has to come from them. Then, okay. Same thing with Empress Chakra Rarebirds people. They can use Dolarium at any time, whenever they get ready. And then, so they're automatically included as well in these international exchanges that we're already working on, that we're already doing. And then the Ghanaian people, they can use Dolarium if they want to use Dolarium too. If they don't want to create their own money, they can use Dolarium to get whatever it is. So if he wills to have Dolarium from us, we would make sure that their documentation is in order in terms of their identity, because all court actions start with proper identification of the parties. That's the process. That's what the system recognizes. And once they're declared as Ghanaian here on the land, then whatever they do, we can create a trust with them and then issue them some Dolarium. And then we go back and forth and, share whatever it is that we're sharing. If they wanted some of our pine tree tea, they can have some. And they would autograph the Dolarium and give us the Dolarium, and we would know that came from the Ghanaian nation. And we would record that on our books as an international exchange, where international laws. And here's the thing, we would even treaty with them. We would treat with them. And that actually comes before the issuance of the Dolarium to them, is a very basic treaty. And then any other Ghanaians at any of the other territories will know about this treaty. Okay. Does that assist in answering that question, Nobility, or can I be more clear for you?
It was clear.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to treat with the other nations that are here, that are here. We have to treat with them and know that, and that's a very simple process. It's very simple. And they get that because there's benefit for them in that. Because they're tired of the fakery also, by the way. They're being taxed out of all their stuff that they worked hard for. And so, we can treat with them and get that. Because one of the first questions that our brother asked was, well, do you own your home? Do you have I said, yes, I have the title to it. He said, well, they never give us title to anything. Can we own anything here? I said, well, you can own something. You can own all the homes in Ghana. Here, it would be done as a citizen national, so to speak. And that's not really a term because it's about as bad as sovereign citizen. But they're a national at Ghana, and here they're citizens, not subject citizens, but the citizens who have a nationality. Okay, so if they got in trouble here, we could always say well, this one, after we work with them, because we'll work with them, but if something was done, we could deport them back to Ghana by way of speaking to their court and by way of the treaty, and say that you can't come here if you're going to be causing trouble, if you murdered somebody or you did some things or something like that. But that's what the treaty does, is it says you have to go back to wherever you're from if you're not going to obey the law here. That is where we have the authority to do that. And the other nations, the Washita and the Cherokee, they have the same authority too to deport others, but it has to be done properly so that the system acknowledges it. And the system, we've already put the system in place. So we just look at, and this is how system is put in place. We look at what was done in the previous era, and then we change and fix and adjust and restate all of that so that it fits our nation. That's how we did everything. That's how we put everything in place. And now we just use it, and we see that the system is honoring the things that we stated. 100%. 100%, it's honoring. That doesn't look like what some people thought it looked like. The system honoring what you say and what you state. Some people thought that was an overnight process. It wasn't. It took Congress, it took legislation, it took demonstration, it took study, it took creation. It took all of that for us to do what we've done. And now the system is saying, yes, that's done. This is done, that's done. They've done this, they've done that. Everything is done. Yeah. Islam. So we just had to be patient. That's all. It just took patience and be willing to do the work and be willing to be tested. Be willing to be tested. That's huge. That's huge. This is all for our benefit. Everything that's being done is all for our benefit. Are there any other questions, comments, wisdom, anything from anyone in this great Congress? Any other questions, comments, wisdom? So lately, Islam. Empress Yamaya. Islam.
Did you receive any mail from me yet?
I have not, and I did check, Empress. I've not received anything as of yet.
Okay.
Islam. Empress Yamaya, did you have a question?
I just wanted to go back to the expectations.
Yes.
I had to think about them really hard. So I believe my first expectation for the next 365 days is to gain the ability to walk as normal as I can again.
Yes.
The second is to be able to cultivate this little piece of property that I've been given.
Yes.
In order to start my business as far as agriculture goes. I have a lot of plans for that. And I did include the nation and the use of Delarium with it. It excites me when I think about it, but I don't want to put it out there until I could get something started. And the last one, not the least one, would be to get my family a little bit more united and try and have them understand the importance of nationality and what exactly what I'm doing for all of us.
Islam, we affirm what you stated, Empress, and if we may add a little bit to that, it's like we stated at the beginning of Congress today. When it comes to family and kin and bloodline and those around you, We suggest to everyone that it would actually benefit the people around you for you to live the truth rather than trying to convince them of it. So we would state that you demonstrate the principles and continue to demonstrate the principles, because the more they see you freeing yourself, that will actually make a bigger difference to them than just the words.
Gratitude.
Yeah. Islam. And that's, we suggest that for everyone, because you can try to convince them until you're blue in the face. It's only when they start to see the benefits that they will pay attention. Man knows not by being told. That's something our Prophet Noble Jew Ali stated. And that is absolutely true. We had a lot of that in the previous era.
Islam?
Quote unquote, witnessing to us about a certain religion of some kind and things like that. And it's great. And that, it won a lot of people because of all the emotion. There was a lot of emotion attached to it. However, most 99% of the people stayed poor and got even poorer by the time that was done. So this era, we prosper first and put things forth first, and we demonstrate first, and then we won't even really have to say too much, because as we stated previously, that enactment, that previous system, is doing enough convincing people that they need to be out of it, that we won't even have to do that work. That system is proving to people that it is, not their friend. And so our job is to just keep doing what we're doing as they're finding out, and then living our truth. And as we continue to live our truth, they will come. And I tell you, because we've built it, they're coming already. They're coming. We can see that, with our own eyes, we can see that. So in the Funny Mirrors enactment, the actors, meaning those that were previously doing business as citizens. Yes, Noble Phoenix said in the chat, most likely that's what the Prophet meant, that he would drive them in. Yes, that system is is driving them already. It's just a matter of, and this is the part that, in my spirit, I'm just thinking, I hope they hurry, because I do not will to see anyone have to go down to the bottom of the barrel and be without anything before they actually wake up and say, okay, I really do, I will to declare my nationality. I don't will to see anyone being booted out and living on the streets and all of that. We don't will to see any of that. But we know that there are some who they have to get to that place before they will hear truth. Some will get to that place. We just determined, and we spoke this and we've stated this many times before. We told the ancestors, look, within us, of course, we don't have to be living under a bridge before we do the right things. We don't have to do that to do the right things. We'll do the right things long before. That will never happen, because we're going to always be doing the right things, and then looking to our spirits within to keep giving us the answers, And as long as we're putting that truth frequency out there, the truth that's out there in the atmosphere that our ancestors put there is going to keep coming. Okay? Islam, Justice Willie, we hear you. We hear you. We see you. We're glad that you made it. Islam. We noticed that the in the previous Funny Mirrors enactment, and when we talk about that, all we're saying is the era before we knew who we were. We saw that they are hanging the banners for Amity and banners of Amity and Commerce. They're hanging them upside down, proclaiming distress. Does anyone know? Because, you know, we ask these questions because we know we have scholars. All our scholars here. Does anyone know what the root word of the word distress is? The root word of the word distress. Because, see, they're trying to send a message from the funny mirror. Can we decipher that?
Stress, Islam.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Strain.
I can't hear you, Empress. Say again, Empress Rosetta.
I said strain.
It stress and strain is that's good. That's good. That's good. From their perspective, that's exactly correct. Of course, in all words, there is duality. In all words, there was duality previously. Distress. The root word etymologically from a Latin perspective, the root word of distress is trust. 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 From a Latin perspective, that is the root word of distress. And because the fake enacted courts have made a guilty pronouncement, 34 guilty pronouncements in their enactment, where the subject, Donald Trump, is concerned, the actor, rather. Donald Trump is concerned, and he is subject. He is a subject. They're saying, they're praying distress. And they're also appealing to heaven. Appealing to heaven. Have you all seen that other flag called Appeal to Heaven flag?
No.
There's another one that they fly with that one upside down, with the banner upside down, and then they have an Appeal to Heaven flag that goes with it. It has a cedar of Lebanon on it. A green cedar of Lebanon. It's similar to our continental flag. Same tree, almost, but not really. So let's just take a moment to look at what's really being said, not stated, but said, where Islam. There are no mistakes. So let's look up the word distress. Let's look that word up really quickly. Let's look that up really quickly. Because, see, there are no mistakes. There are no accidents. And if we pay close attention, because we pay close attention to everything, we will know what's really being stated, or said, rather. So let's look at this word. Distress. What are they really saying? First, as I began to look at the word, this word, because see, remember, Empress, you said strain. Stress and strain, same thing. This strainer, he who seizes a distress. So the etymology is correct on that word. Distrainer or distraint means seizure, the act of distraining or making a distress. Just one moment.
I thought I was going away in September, Pauline. I'm still here, bitch. I'm still here, bitch.
So now let's look at distress, because see, as we're looking at these definitions, we
the only thing it's over is not
and know what's being stated. Distress. To the taking a personal chattel out of the possession of a wrongdoer into the custody of the party injured.
Just remember, Pauline,
to procure a satisfaction for a wrong committed, as for non-payment of rent, or injury done by cattle, the taking of beasts or other personal property by way of pledge to enforce the performance of something due from the party distrained upon, the taking of a defendant's goods in order to compel an appearance in court. Distress, the seizure of personal property to enforce payment of taxes, to be followed by its public sale if the taxes are not voluntarily paid. Also, the thing taken by distraining, that which is seized to procure satisfaction. In Old Scottish law, a pledge taken by the sheriff from those attending fairs, like the World's Fair or things like that, or markets, to secure their good behavior and returnable to them at the close of the fair or market if they had been guilty of no wrong. Distress infinite. One that has no bounds with regard to its quantity and may be repeated from time to time until the stubbornness of the party is conquered. Such are distresses for fealty or suit of court and for compelling jurors to attend. A power of attorney by which landlord delegates exercise of his right to his duly authorized agent. This is really kind of a little bit about what's going on too. We did not delegate any authority to any subjects and nor any corpses. We are our own authority. So on the record, what's really being stated is that our authority belongs to us, and no delegation has been given to anyone doing business as, that was previously doing business as president. That's over. A distress warrant, a writ authorizing an officer to make a distraint. Listen to this part. Particularly a writ authorizing the levy of a distress on the chattels of a tenant for non-payment of rent. Look at a writ of grand distress. This is, again, we're talking about the system and how to get obedience accomplished by way of the system. See, the system is how, we could have said all day, get off our land, get off our land. We don't want them on our land. No, that's not how you accomplish that. What you do is you use your court, your money, and your system to compel proper obedience to the law. And that is what we've done, and that's what you're seeing there. So a writ of grand distress, it's a writ formally issued in the real action of, and this is supposedly a court action, when no appearance had been entered after the attachment. So someone did not show up for court, and they're being compelled to come to court. It commanded the sheriff to distrain the defendant's lands and chattels in order to compel appearance. And here it says it's no longer used, but no, that's not true. Our courts use whatever grand writs and affidavits we will to use. And it says it having abolished the action of, and this says quare impedit, and substituted for it the procedure in an ordinary action. So a regular old warrant is what they're saying took the place, but we rebut that on the public record. Everything, all of the writs and affidavits, and that's why everything that we do is by affidavit. Everything is by writ affidavit. We put that at the top of all of our documentation. Okay. Now, if you remember correctly, Moors, our ancestors issued liens to start or stop or compel the subjects previously. For example, they our ancestors put a lien on a boat that was carrying some gold and silver and things. They put a lien on it so that the boat could not leave here and go to quote unquote England until there was an agreement signed or a treaty signed by the heads, because we're over Europe as well. The Moors govern Europe as well. And so those two Moorish heads, and yes, the Christians have a Moor at the top of that system, the Christian system. There is no Pope but the Moors. And so whenever we will to compel someone to come to court or do whatever, then we use the system to do so, and which is what we've done. If you remember correctly, we did a court action on the corporation that was previously doing business as Donald Trump. We did a court action on them probably 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And so our ancestors honored that court action from day one. It was just a matter of, okay, do the lien and the levy and the bond process. And when you do those things, then that will compel the system to do what the system is supposed to do. The system has made it so that no one can bond because we're issuing bonds. No one can bond because those are not real bonds. They're fake. We issue the real bonds. They're creditor bonds. Okay? So now we will to continue our processes and continue moving forward with our court actions and the things that we've done. We do not will to destroy anyone because everyone must be in their proper status. And when people and persons are in their proper status, there's no such thing as genocide and killing and death and all of that. No such thing. No such thing. We are the opposite of that. Although we have the power of both life and death in our tongue as we do the court actions. That's in the trust document called the Biblios, or the Bible. It's a trust document. The word Bible just means book. It just means book. Any book written by the Moors is a trust document. It's also generally financial. So that is why the processes and our own system is so important. And if you'll notice, they're using sleeping Moors to enact that. That's just to send a signal. That's all that is signaling everyone that about who's in charge on the land. And those are not ego statements at all. Not at all. Those are not ego statements. Those are facts and law. That is about us, the Moors, all of us. And when we say Moors, we mean those who don't even call themselves Moors, but they are declaring their status as the living on the land. They don't call themselves Moors yet. I mean, and again, we're going to let the ancestors lead that whole. The ancestors will do because they know best. We're just going to continue doing what we're doing. So, if you'll notice, talking about seizure of property and levies and things of that nature, that is the sign right there. Okay, that's what the distress, quote unquote, is signaling. And so, what did we say at the beginning of this and throughout this Congress is the buildings are already here. All we do is continue doing what we're doing, continue working, continue lien, levy, and bond process, because the system is now telling everyone who was claiming to be custodians, stewards, and owners of buildings that the real owners and heirs and custodians and stewards are here. And when we say custodians and stewards, the owners, the government is here already. The system will do what the system is supposed to do as we continue doing what we're supposed to be doing, is honoring the system that our ancestors put in place. So we have nothing to worry about more in terms of domiciles, conveyances, buildings, structures, and all of that. Our ancestors will that government be our top priority, because it's through government that all of that stuff comes anyway. Let me speak that in the positive. Because we set up our government, if you build it, they will come. When you build it, they will come. And they being the things: conveyances, domiciles, structures, buildings, finances, all of that stuff is already here for us. It's already here. It's just now, okay, use the system to do what is supposed to be done. Use the system to access and acquire those things. And do it because you're the government. It makes complete sense to have a government building before we have a brand new whatever. It makes complete sense to have the government in place, which we are, before all of those things come, so that you're protected while you're using all of those things: conveyances, cars, automobiles, houses, domiciles, residences, whatever you call them. Those things are better protected by way of government. Okay? Because in the previous era, all we have to do is look and see who got called if someone tried to access a domicile or a house or a car that they had not gone through the system, used the system to access. Who got called? Let's look at that. Just a moment. we'll look up a particular word to show. No. Here, there's a particular word for that we look at. Just a moment. Let's pull that word up really quick. And so we can give it a proper definition. Police. The function of that branch of the administrative machinery of government, which is charged, and again, to be charged with something is a court term. Are you charged with a crime or are you charged with an office? Because you're going to be one or the other. See? Everyone is charged. It just depends on what you're charged with. Are you charged with the office? Because that's the government. We are all charged with the office. It says, is charged with the preservation of public order. Public order. Doesn't say anything about private. It says public order. And tranquility, the promotion of the public health, safety, and morals, and the prevention, detection, and punishment of crimes. So it was all about government in the first place. Now look here, police magistrate. Did you know there was that police were pretending to be magistrates? They were pretending to be the government. They were acting as if they were the government. Okay. So I see what you've put in the chat. Government can be secured wherever you are. We are the government right here. So wherever you are, you're the government. If you lived under a bridge, you could still be the government there. What Noble Phoenix put in the chat, and I think this is important because he assists us in seeing what people look at when they're looking in the funny mirror. Not necessarily true. When you're without home, living in the woods or on the street, it's kind of hard to justify getting a government building before securing one for self. And that's a beautiful thing to say. It elicits the emotion of wanting to protect. It pulls emotion from you when you say things like that. But when we set that emotion aside and know that no matter where you are, you're the government, the building will come. See, you must be the government before the building manifests. That's wherever you are, whether you're on the street, and we stated this before, we are the court no matter where we are. Okay. We get what you're saying, Noble Phoenix. We get what you're saying. That's good for what you're stating. But wherever you are, we must already be being the government before any building shows up, because a domicile won't even show up until you're the government, until you govern. Islam.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the way you stated that. I simply bring it up because we do have people in that circumstance, some of our heirs, who are doing without home, and they are governing, and that's the important thing. I'm not speaking about those who are just wishy-washy and not active Moors. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about those who are active, even in our Congress right now, and doing the work as best they can given the situation that they're in. And so they do whatever they have to do, and they're governing. But the priority for the one that I'm thinking of is not to get a government building. His priority is to get up off the street so he can have some peace and sleep at night. Because if your health goes, guess what? You ain't going to be around to do no governing.
Okay.
You know? And so we have to think about the whole man, the whole woman, you know, and I know you're making a general statement with regards to the public bid, and it's very specific, but yet general. Okay, but I'm speaking on behalf of that one because I don't want to call them out or that one. Period. And I don't need to. You're right, I don't. But I just want to just make it clear, we're not saying that somebody should sacrifice, okay, having a place to live, because that is our right, our inheritance, is to be safe and sound on our land. That is part of our inheritance. And, you know, nothing should take that away from us. Nothing. And no one. Not even ourselves. So I yield on that. Islam.
Now, just a moment. What you're saying, it elicits more emotion, but whoever that is, they must govern competently to do that. See, this is all about, and please, I'm not saying that they're not competent. I'm saying that they must continue to be competent regardless of whatever. Because I was at, and I'll say it's a jail cell, we'll call it that, but that's not really what it was. It was court for us too. I governed from there, and that's what got me out of that situation. I didn't look around and go, oh, poor me, I'm the heir, I shouldn't be here. And I'm not saying that they're saying that, Noble Phoenix. I'm saying just in general. We cannot feel sorry for ourselves based on the circumstances. We must stand and govern and continue to govern regardless. Because if I can do it from someplace that people were calling a jail cell, then anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. It can be done. It can be done. Now, let me say this about that too, because this is important. Some are going to they're going to want to misconstrue this, but it won't be misconstrued. In the previous era, there were some disciplines and some things that we had to do in order to accomplish some things, even in the dead system. That same discipline, because see, discipline is biblical. Those from the previous era who were enacting occupation, military occupation of our land, they did that enactment because the Bible told them, okay, and I'll just say that the Bible told them this, their Bible told them that they were to disciple, and the word disciple means discipline, the nations. And those who were not easily discipleable, those who did not discipline easy, met with a particular unpleasantry in the previous era. We hope, and we'll just say hope. We don't use that word very often, but when you're talking about sovereigns, we can't tell sovereigns what to do, so that's where our hope comes in at. We hope that those who were not easily disciplined in the previous era will be so for themselves in this era, so that they can come out of those situations. But a lot of times, not a lot of times, sometimes they didn't, sometimes when you look at where someone is in their testing, because this is all testing, when you look at where someone is in their testing, and some might not agree with this, but it's the truth anyway, they're in the situation they're in because that's where their testing has led them. And we get that people did not want to be discipled, because I was actually listen, the ancestors had to come in and say, okay, we got to hurry up and wake her up. Because up to a certain point, I was discipleable or disciplined in the previous era. But after a while, things got ridiculous in that system. And I was saying, okay, some stuff I'm just not going to do. And the ancestor said, okay, she's about ready to wake up because she's gotten to the point where that system can no longer disciple her. So now we must disciple ourselves or discipline ourselves. That's what self-government is, discipline. Some are still bullheaded. They want to fight. They want to fight. It comes out of their mouths. They want to fight. Whether they fight the matriarchy, whether they fight that they don't want to do this or that or a third, that's going to help them govern their estate, whatever it is. Some still don't want to let that go, and they want to go head to head. And those sovereign Moors that are smart will not go head to head with anybody. There's no need. I have my estate. Each one of you has your estate. We all have the estate together. There's no need for us to go back and forth like that over something like the matriarch or because there are some sons who don't want to hear about the matriarchy. They'll honor it up to a certain point, and then they don't want to hear anymore. You're making your own bed. Okay? That's why we don't tell sovereigns what to do. We're never going to tell sovereigns what to do. We make strong suggestions, and then that previous enactment will do the rest. The previous enactment will do the rest. That previous system will do the rest. You can tell by what comes out of their mouths where the issue is. Islam, Empress.
What I understand that is happening novels is our ancestors did meticulous accounting. I even noticed today what they've adopted from our system that everything is for. Everything you do has some type of ID number, and it can be tracked. And what I seem to understand what is happening about the governing and what is proper. For instance, I was listening to Noble Rod Hayes, and he was talking to an empress, and she asked him, a lot of us here in Califia land were foreclosed on and lost properties. Once the system turns, back into our favor, we just get our land back. And he said, only if you have proper documents proving that you fought for that land. So I thought it was kind of a different interpretation, but Grand Sheik says that you must do proper documentation. Everything has to be accounted for.
Yes.
So what I'm hearing as far as governance is proper governance. We must do the work. We must put the proper documents out there, do the proper claim, so that everyone on the planet knows what's going on, who owns what's where, and what's on the day. It's an accurate record for everything. Am I mistaken on that? Islam.
So, proper documentation. Let me add what we've been saying, because I'm sensing that there may be some that sometimes people might think that if you check the boxes, then you're in.
Excuse me. Pardon me. What I mean is like the 10 documents with the work that we're doing, a proper claim on the public record for the world to see. not
Yes.
checking the boxes. I mean, we know how to do the work. I'm saying all others have to learn this work too. We must do this properly in order to be able to control those pieces of property on our estates. Am I correct?
Yes. You are correct, Empress. Let me add to that that there is an energy that comes with that that's also a part of competence. And the energy is peaceful, competent energy. Peaceful, honorable, competent, trustworthy energy. The system responds to that because that's part of the system. And people sometimes don't want to acknowledge that part, that no, you can't have a trash attitude towards your each other. We can't do that. Because guess what? That's going to mess up the documentation. I can tell you that. It's going to mess it up. And then the system won't honor it. So we actually have to honor ourselves and each other as well as doing the processes. That is a key. That's a key. That's a key. It's just like when someone is angry. When you're angry, it's best not to do certain things. It's best not to make decisions. It's best not to do anything. There's a reason for that. Because you're not going to be thinking clearly enough to make that decision. It's best to clear energy, and that's one of our most important skills and abilities and characteristics and traits and magical abilities, is to clear our energy. So if you're a son that has problem with the matriarch, or if you're a matriarch that has a problem with the matriarchy, clear that energy before you start doing documents so that your documents don't reflect that energy, because they will. If you have that energy, they'll reflect it, and the system won't honor. It's not even about somebody else not honoring it. It's the system will not honor it because it's not going to be right. It's going to have a tinge to it. It's going to have some energy on the document. Now, some people don't believe that. They think that they can just copy a document but just take our word for it. There's more to this than some realize. This matrix knows when the energy is correct and when it's not correct. So that's not a decision that we make, as it were. That's a decision, and I can't say that that's not a decision we make, because we do make that decision, but each one of us makes that decision about the documentation that we do. So sometimes I hear people saying, oh, that's a competent Moor. Why did they get in that situation? Whoever says that is not competent yet. Whoever says that Moors should not be tested in what they know, they still don't know who they are. Still don't know. Nobility is not assumed.
Lies, Pauline, the lie.
It's proven. See, lower energies, the shadow of lower energies don't want you to know that. They want to just make you think that everything is supposed to be pie in the sky, and you just enter into the trillions and all that you do.
Nothing she tells you is the truth. She's a liar.
Who in the world would give anybody that much money, that much property, but to someone who will fly off the handle and who's not disciplined? Who would do that? No one. Not even in the last era did that happen. Very, very seldom did that happen. There were some who supposedly inherited from the last era, but they didn't keep it long. You won't keep it if you're not disciplined. So if you think that you have to fight the matriarchy, or you think that you, and I'm talking on both sides, I'm talking male and female. Women, we must love the matriarchy because we are matriarch. That means honoring each other. Don't get around your man and talk trash about the other matriarchs and expect that energy is not going to come across in what you do. because it will. And then the system won't honor. And then you'll have your little cheerleading group saying, but she's competent. Why is she going through that? What energy is it? What energy is being put forth there? Are you honoring other matriarchs and yourself first? Yourself first. If you don't honor yourself, the system will not honor the things you say and do. You must honor yourself. That's one of the first things, because us getting on our knees in front of somebody and calling them a judge, that's dishonor. That's dishonor. That is you dishonoring yourself. So, we are to be the judge. See, judgment begins in our temples first. Then it can go out. We can go out and judge others righteously, rightfully, honorably, and judge our matters within our estate, which is everywhere and everything and everyone. So, whenever I see, Moors complaining about, they're doing something competent, but they're still living on the street. Okay, there's some more to it. Just let them become competent to not do that, to not live on the street. The same way we, over time, became competent to print our own money and to have our own courts. We didn't know it all in one day. And so in 2017, there was a fake court trying to say and do things over us, and we did 26 days in a cell stating the law, what we knew to do. We didn't know then, at that time, to do court actions the way that we do them now. We didn't know that. So we took one for the team. We took one for the nation. Okay. But the next time that test came around, we knew what to do. We knew what to do. Just keep doing court actions. That's what we were going to do, period. A police magistrate, an inferior judicial officer having jurisdiction of minor criminal offenses, breaches of police regulations, and the like. Don't say nothing about the law. It doesn't say anything about the law. So-called to distinguish themselves from magistrates who have jurisdiction in civil cases also as justices of the peace. So we had to supersede that level. People could have been asking, why, and they did, why is Light in jail? Not knowing that we were in there and we were actually in court, doing our own court actions repeatedly. We didn't even care what people said. We didn't even care. We knew we had a job to do. We knew people were going to say, oh, but if they can get Light, they can get anybody. No. We are the court. We're the court, so let's be the court. That was a lesson that we learned, because I'm the one who asked the question of our ancestors, how do we get past them? How do we get past fake courts and fake judges and all of that? How do we do that? And the ancestors said, we're so glad you asked. We're going to put you in that situation a couple of times, and then you'll do it. You will get yourself past that. Those Moors who are out there on the street, because see, just make no mistake about it, they were probably on the street even in the other era as well. So it's not like as soon as they declared their nationality, they're on the street. No, that was coming. That test was coming. There are Moors who've been evicted who didn't know that they were Moors. So Moor science is not what did that. It was ignorance that did it. The same way it was ignorance for us for any of the other things. So we're not saying that it's a matter of competence. So what do? We keep studying, Keep demonstrating. Keep demonstrating. We're going to keep demonstrating. We're going to demonstrate regardless. And once that decision is made, things get better and better and better and better over time, because this is an eternal action. All that we're doing is for eternity. Our heirs and our heirs' heirs and all, they won't have to worry about this, because we're taking our time and just rising slowly and slowly and slowly. And it's happening really quickly, if you ask me. Kind of suddenly, we're rising. But look, it's been 7 years. It's been 7 years. Almost 7 years, I believe. For us, we're going into our 7th year. So, we just will that we pull the emotion out and look at the law. And it's difficult sometimes to do that when you see your brothers and sisters suffering, but we got to get over it. Like our grand chief says, get over that and look at and study, demonstrate, do what the law says, and stay that way. Because see, a lot of times, when people are in certain situations, they'll vacillate and go back to citizen status, quote unquote, because that's not really a status, it's stateless. Or they'll be the main ones complaining when people are being tested. So you already know they got a test coming, because they still don't see that listen, tests come, but to whom much is given, much is required. Much is required. Yes, everybody's sovereign. Everybody want to be sovereign. Okay, you're sovereign. Prove it. Don't just say it. Prove it. Keep proving it repeatedly, over and over, over and over and over. Period. Just prove it. I love to hear people, stating who they are and all of that. Okay, and here's the thing. Whatever you don't know, the ancestors will provide grace for you. They will cover you. They'll provide grace for you. But no, we don't feel sorry for anyone, because we know you're the gods. We know your power. We know it's unlimited. So no, we don't feel sorry. We know that when you stand, you're victorious. We know that. We know that when we're competent, that system will yield, and the real system will do what it does. We know that firsthand. Firsthand. Why are our courts so important? They're so important because continents, governments, countries, nations that have proper government issuing passports, travel visas, and subject documents have supreme authority to state who comes into their territory and what happens in those territories. Okay? Even on the computer, there is a message that says the group or resource is not in the correct state to perform the requested operation. What does that mean? You must not be stateless. You must be the state, so that the operation that you're commanding, the system honors it. This is a message that I screenshot straight off of my computer. And I know it was the ancestors just speaking. Prior to the 1980s, all Christian missionaries who wanted to go anywhere in the world to infect the populations with their modern corporate debt, and again, we're not talking about the real Christians, we're talking about the commercial corporate corpse Christians, who wanted to infect the populations with their beliefs, had to apply to the quote-unquote Vatican, the actors acting as Vatican, for a work visa or an ecclesiastical visa, or they could not enter because the Muslim judiciary would not grant them a travel visa. Anyone caught evangelizing without proper documentation was executed upon due process. In other words, that was capital punishment for them. So even the computer knows things must be in the proper state. Now, speaking of state, all of those previous those that were previously acting as banks and bankers, I'll put this link in the chat so that we can see what else has happened in the funny mirror. And here's what it says. It says, abrupt shutdown of financial middleman. There's something there. In other words, there's no middleman between us and our banking. And that's why we can still bank. Has frozen thousands of Americans' deposits. The bank accounts of tens of thousands of U.S. businesses and consumers have been frozen in the aftermath of the abrupt shutdown and bankruptcy of financial technology company Synapse, which acts as a middleman between financial technology companies, and then it says some other things, which you can read it by way of the link that we put in the chat. So again, this is just more of the same things that we've been just looking at the funny mirror go away. It's and what are those persons to do? They have to declare who they really are on the land. They're not corpses. They're not dead. They must declare their status. And then they can have access to banking because we have access to banking that we created. I saw something else on social media here. It says the U.S. went bankrupt on March 4th, 1933. How long ago was that? That was 90 years ago, 91 years ago, quote unquote. Domestic transactions were removed from the exclusions to the 1917 Trading with the Enemy Act. Okay, trading with the enemy prior to March 9, 1933, all domestic transactions were always legal. No. After March 9, 1933, which we know the Bankruptcy Act happened at that time, the act, all domestic transactions are illegal. And then they're saying that they are the enemy of the Roman occupation forces. Trading with the enemy is always illegal. That's everything is switched. That's why they're saying distress. They're saying the domestic trading is with the enemy of their foreign masters. Domestic transactions can now be regulated and punished. Now they're saying domestic transactions are illegal. No man might buy or sell. It is illegal to buy or sell in America unless your transactions are with a surrendered person. Guess who surrendered? So again, they're talking about persons, which is the all caps, or the in capitis diminutio minima, which is actually people, not persons. And again, we govern all persons. In other words, those who are not from here, who've not declared their nationality, actually, are considered surrendered persons. Because guess what? We're not at war. And that is what we've declared on the land, is peace. So we've stated what our banking process is. Our exchanges are not taxed. And in conclusion, we saw this on the internet as well and took a photo of it. This is from 1955. And now think about this, Morris. A 2-bedroom, 1-bath domicile was $7,450 in 1955. Monthly payments $47.92. Here's another one, 3 bedrooms, 1 bath, $7,900 with monthly payments $49.74. The question in the chat is, when you give up, is it surrendering or forfeiting? It's surrendering, because in reality, you have to have something to forfeit. They didn't have anything to forfeit. There was nothing to forfeit. Everything was ours from the beginning. With proper claiming of it, just like Empress Cynthia stated, proper claiming of it, of the properties, those properties belong to us as well. Everything belongs to the Moors. We must use our system to do it. And again, that's everyone. That's all the original indigenous bloodline and birthright. All of us. And then the subjects get their money from us because we're the government. So, you know, we're seeing now where those who use fiat to get brand new conveyances and things like that, it's not long after they get it that is lean on it. People getting, so I got this and that. They immediately start having issues with tags, license, tax, payments, all of that. And yeah, that in the chat, our brother put a 13-year payoff, which is ridiculous for a conveyance. That's ridiculous when we prepay for everything. So it was worth it to take a few years and step back from all that contracting. Take a few years and step back so that you can see clearly and then demonstrate who you really are. So those that are supposedly getting new conveyances, we're seeing it. It's not even 2 or 3 weeks where they signed that contract and didn't read the fine print. That thing will be recaptured back, and they'll still be stuck with the debt because they signed the contract, and it was the contract that previous enactment wanted anyway. They didn't care about whether you had a conveyance or a domicile or not, a house or a car, automobile. They didn't care about that. They didn't care if your kids ate, not kids, children. They didn't care if your children ate or not. They don't care about the food. They want the signature, the contract, and the energy and the debt flowing.
Islam. You know, speaking of folks losing their kids, I was doing research on the automotive market as it stands today, as of in the last 30 days specifically. Mm-hmm. And there's a guy in the repo industry, and he's going around to different lots and showing you all of these cars are being repoed, and they got so much inventory, it's ridiculous. Yeah. And then on top of it, he was at the dealerships, and they're having the floor plan vehicles repossessed by the banks because of the debt and because they can't sell them, they're not moving them fast enough, blah, 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 blah. So it's happening right around us. We just got to open our eyes up and see what's going on as they continue to dismantle. I'll put it that way. But to see the dealerships losing vehicles left and right on the floor plan because the banks, saying, look, we gotta collect it, and then the banks.
So you're talking about the ones that they put on the showroom floor? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's on the wholesale floor plan because all the vehicles are on consignment from the manufacturer.
Yeah.
Then they get a finance deal that they can sell, and they have to flip them in 60, 90 days or less. If anything is still there after that, it's hurting. Every day it's hurting. So if you got a vehicle that's on that lot for more than 90 days, they anxious to get rid of it. That's when they wholesale them to an automotive auction house. And they don't really want to take too many because they got too many. They can't sell them. All right, even at discounts, deep discounts. So we gotta see what's going on in the territories. Islam,
and that is exactly what we were referencing when we stated here on the screen. All industries and sectors are overflowing with holdings. All of them are overflowing with holdings. So now what we're doing is bringing our money and those resources together by way of the system. That is precisely, we're seeing that to the point where they're just going back and forth with the stuff because none of them have room for anything else. And the public can't afford them from that previous era because it was a corpse anyway. We see that. In the Biblios, it says that when the cup of the Amorites is full, then the Savior will come. And here we are, Moors. Here we are. We are the Saviors.
Islam, we affirm.
Indeed. So that's why we're stating that, no, we don't feel sorry for anyone. We don't feel sorry for anyone because we know you're so powerful that you probably don't even realize how powerful you are. So you must get up and be powerful and stand. Stand. Because the stuff is already ours. I'm just saying. The system was waiting for us to speak competently to it, to her. The system was waiting for us to speak competently and to present our own banking and to present our own everything in a spirit of sharing that with all nations. So we see the same thing is happening in quote unquote real estate. No one else can move anything. Everything is grinding to a halt. Just like our prophet Noble Ali said, that when it starts back up again, it'll be in the favor of the Moors. That's because the Moors put it in their favor with the system. And see, when you're talking about a system, it's gonna keep the peace. It's going to keep the peace. The peace will be here. We're the peace. We're the system. We know that. But peace reigns when there's order. Because I'm telling you, I'm ready to party with y'all. I ain't trying to fight with nobody because we're going to party and have a great time, and that's already starting. I can feel that and sense that in the air. It's already here. That time is already here. And yes, we're already just infinitely wealthy. We know that. We all are. So we don't even have to go back and forth about trying to keep up with the Joneses because we all got it. We all got it.
Them Joneses out of it. We ain't done nothing.
We talking about the other Joneses, not y'all. The other ones. Okay, keeping up with the Richies because we're the Richies. And we say Richie, but that's real. That is actually my sovereign-born appellation is Richie. But yeah, we don't have to worry about who has what because we all have everything. So let's keep going. Let's keep becoming wiser and wiser and wiser about our estate. And let's keep unifying. Let's continue to unify. And to the nations that are present today, because there are quite a few nations present, and everyone is head of state or the state heads. We honor you. We honor you. We honor you. We honor your presence, we honor your energy, and we are just so excited to be in trust with you. We trust one another, and that is actually where any other trust comes from. We are one in all that we do and all that we say. We speak with one voice. We have always been the nations united. That's where the United Nations come from, is the nations united since time immemorial, and the states united since time immemorial. And with that, we will adjourn if there be nothing further from this amazing Congress filled with sovereign justice. If there be nothing further, we will adjourn until Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern on the same program. And to the Empress Peace that we were going to meet, if you'll just stay on, you and I will, or I'll go ahead and just adjourn everyone, and then if you'll sign back in, Empress, we'll meet immediately following.
Thank you. Yes.
You're welcome. Peace and grand rising, Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Islam.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam. Peace and grand rising. What she said was Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Islam, peace and grand rising. Grand rising.
Islam, peace and grand rising. Islam.
Empress Light.
Yes.
What documents need to put on public record for the claiming of